Today we're going to be talking about basically business funding, like when to open an LLC.
Hmm.
Do you get an LLC or an S corp? Do you start looking doing like should you do? You should probably do personal financing first, or should you do business funding first? That's kind of what today's topic is going to be about.
Okay. Oh yeah, so that's a good topic. I mean, that's like a deep topic as well, and then like you can look at it, multiple ways, but like anybody that wants to get into business, they need to understand that, and I just kind of touched on it earlier, is the fact that regardless of, you can go buy off the shelf businesses. People sell businesses off the shelf. You can go buy one that's been seasoned for years, for at least 2 to 3 years, in order to have no personal guarantee for the business. But as I mentioned earlier, people need to understand that there is a limit on things you can do with a no personal guarantee business. You're not going to be able to do certain things that you think you're going to do, such as get lines of credit, or like buy a house, or buy real estate. You still have a personal guarantee necessary to be able to run that business, and that's the personal side. So, how important is your personal side is as if not more important than your business. So your personal credit is your like springboard. If you don't, if you're, how strong is your foundation, right? So if you
Yeah,
don't, if you don't have a good foundation, and this is what this whole course is about, you get your foundation solidified, then you have something hard to bounce on and jump off of. And you're like, I can stand on my own, and then you can go off and open up a business, and then your business kind of like leans on you, and that business now has a good credit score because of your personal credit, and you get the Paydex 80, which is what everybody's trying to talk about, and get into the your Dun and Bradstreet number, and get some good reviews.
what is that?
That's basically your overall like business like portfolio, or like your actual, like, what are you doing as a business? What is your business credit look like? And that Paydex 80 is like basically your business credit score, and it's not like a number. It's like A, B, C, right?
Yeah,
So most businesses, when they just open up, they're not A's. They're like, they get pulled into like either a B or a C, and then they have to, if they have, depends on their credit, the person that's opening up the business, depending on that person, what their credit score is kind of like where their Paydex 80 in their credit score lands. And Dun and
cool.
Bradstreet is just that number is the registration of your business on the bureau. It's like a bureau. It's like a business bureau basically. As
Nice.
we know, we have TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You also have Dun and Bradstreet as a bureau for the business side. So
That's
that
sick.
that basically kind of like gives you your understanding of where you stand, and you can also look at your score. You can look at how your business is operating, your overall like credibility on the business. Every business has to have a Dun and Bradstreet number. So that's something that first you do is, if
Is
you
that
want
like
to.
your EIN or is that just like the publicly
So no, no,
whatever?
you have your EIN is your, kind of like the federal side. You got to get your first thing you do is you apply for a business name, and then you go and you get an EIN, right? And then once you get
Right.
an EIN, then you can go and get a Dun and Bradstreet number in order to kind of get your credit side solidified. Then you can go off and get these trade lines like Quill and all these other
For
trade
your
lines
business though, right?
for
But
your
it's still
business.
attached to your personal for a little
It's
while.
it's all through the business. All these other like trade lines, right? You can get to kind of grow your business, but Dun and Bradstreet is like the main bureau, basically.
Damn, you just blew my mind. So I can get trade lines for my LLCs and my businesses and shit.
Yeah, you get trade line. You
Damn.
don't have, and the thing is that trade lines are like they're kind of cheap actually. You can go and build it up, right? You can
Yeah.
go and buy from a purchaser, like buy from a vendor that's going to report to your credit report. So that's why Quill is one of them. There's a few other ones that you can go and like basically buy like kind of like stuff, like whether it's like office stuff, office supplies. Just buy it, and those things will show like you're doing it, you're getting like you're actually spending money with the business credit,
Yeah.
and then you get reports. So I don't want to get too far into the business side, because all that stuff we can get more into. But what I really want to touch on is the personal side. And because as we go further into business, in order to, once you have an LLC, you have a Dun and Bradstreet number. It doesn't matter how many trade lines you have, my friend. You can
Yeah.
have 100 trade lines, okay? Whatever it is, you're not gonna get qualified on a credit card from Bank of America unless you use your personal credit.
Right.
Okay? You're not going to get qualified, or you're not going to get a credit line or a credit card, or you might be able to open up a bank account, but that's it. You're not going to be able to get a credit. Anything that says the word credit in it, you are not going to be able to get on a business side unless your personal credit is good. And I mean good,
Yeah.
like above 680 good or better is where you want to be at. I always say, worst case is 680 is like the minimum you want to be at. Just open up a business. You don't want to be in the 650s or the 600s
Yeah.
and trying to open up a business because you're not going to get the benefits. You're not going to reap the benefits. So getting yourself above the 680 mark minimum, funding wise as well, you need to be above 680. I would say above 700, but
Yeah.
on the LLC side you need to be above 680 before you even think about opening up an LLC.
So before
And
you even open it, you think like why
yes,
why is that though? What about if you like already have one, but you need to get your credit up and then you'd go and get a
you can do
Bradstreet or
that as
whatever?
well. Now, the
Yeah.
reason I say before you open it, because if this is like somebody that's trying to open up a business, but if you
Right,
if you
right,
have
right.
an existing business right now, if you have an existing business, then you can basically you going, if you don't have a Dun and Bradstreet number, go get a Dun and Bradstreet number for your business, and it's going to reflect your credit score. It's probably going to be an F, or it's
Yeah.
going to be like a D or whatever, right? In your case, for example, right?
Yeah,
But
for
like,
sure. I was thinking because I've got
yeah,
like three LLCs and they're all kind of old. And I was thinking about it. Like I've switched banks so many times for all of them that I should probably like, what is the step? So I should probably get a business bank account, start putting money in there and like
right.
reflecting it on my taxes and everything else that's a business, and then probably pay myself from the business. And then I've never done a Dun and Bradstreet anything though
Yeah.
before because I just
You
didn't
go,
know
you
about
go,
it.
you go up. Dun and Bradstreet is free. You file. The reason you do Dun and Bradstreet is because it's like having a profile. Basically, they don't know. The bureaus don't like. Bureaus know that you have a credit report because you have a social security number. Whenever you have an EIN number, you have to register it with Dun and Bradstreet because the Dun and Bradstreet, there's no communication going on from the federal government to the Dun and Bradstreet. Like
Right.
there's no communication. And it's just same with the social security number. There is an automatic like innate
Right.
credit score communication that's happening there. You automatically get a credit score when you have a social security number.
Mhm.
When you get an EIN, you technically have a credit score, but you don't have a bureau that's reporting on it.
Right.
So, and that's why you need to let them know that you are a business and you're operating and you have a credit score, or you want to build a credit score. So that's what the Dun and Bradstreet really is for. And then, but yeah, you open up an LLC, assuming you have a score of 680, or if it's worse, if you have an existing credit or a existing business, you would need to go ahead and raise your personal credit in order to start building a business credit.
Yeah.
Before you build business credit, fix your credit, right?
Yeah.
Fix your personal credit, get your foundation set, and then go off and get the LLC, or if you already have one, go open up, get into the Dun and Bradstreet system, put your profile in, put the EIN in, get that all solidified, and then you can start getting trade lines or vendors you can start doing business with or spending money on in order to get those reporting on your credit report on the business side.
Yeah.
And then that's going to help you on the no personal guarantee cards that are not credit related. Like if you don't like reward cards, like basically like fuel cards, things like that. If you ever want to go get fuel, like you can go get some points with that. That's
Mhm.
business. But like anytime you want to use a credit, if you want to get funding, any funding that requires credit or actual access to money, cash,
Yeah.
requires your personal credit.
Yeah.
Requires personal credit.
I guess what I
That
want to
is,
pick your brain on is like you kind of said it's like it's probably a long-term thing. It takes like a while, but like isn't the dream to eventually be able to get loans for a business though and play like Monopoly with other people's money where it's attached to the business and not attached to your personal? Isn't that the
so when
dream kind of?
yeah,
I
definitely.
don't
And
know, like
that's
dream's not the right word, but
and
yeah.
I think it's more like it's what actually was Rich Dad Poor Dad book was about.
Yeah.
There's two important words. First word is cash flow. Second word is leverage. Those are the
Yeah.
two most important words in that book. So if you read that book, you know what I'm talking about. But that basically the cash flow is obvious, right? You
Right.
want cash, but the credit, the leverage, he didn't say credit, he said leverage. The reason he said leverage is because he used OPM, other people's money. But whenever they say other people's money, it was very confusing to me when I first heard that term, because I've been doing credit and leveraging the bank's money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, other people's money. When every
Who are
time
these people?
I understood it after I understood when you do private lending And that's where like really it's other people's money. You're getting a contractor, for example, you're trying to buy a house, you have a lender that's giving you money, hard money or private money, that's considered other people's money. But what the rich man poor dad was talking about, he wasn't talking about going and finding someone that has like a sugar daddy that has a bunch of money that's going to give you money in order for you to invest and make money. Like, that relationship requires time to build, and that takes, that requires a networking, right? Be able to network. And that's something that what he kind of mentioned, but it's also the fact that you can access money through your banks. And other people's money is actually other, like your other bank's money, basically. And where you're able to go and leverage, right? The word leverage, debt. Okay.
Yeah.
Leverage debt. But how do you get into debt? Like, how do you get into debt? You need to have what? You need to have a credit score. So
Right.
in order to get into debt, you need to have credit. So if you are not leveraged, if you think leveraging other people's money means leveraging Joe Smo, who decided to give you some money to invest in a business, that you're leveraging this individual, yes. But there was no credit check. There was no info. There was just a contract, right? That's leverage and that's debt. But if you want to leverage when you buy a house, when they give you a loan for $1 million house, you're leveraging the loan, the debt, but the debt was based on your credibility, your credit score. And your credit score is how they can, and your credit history, your credit report, it determines what your actual how much debt you can get into. So it's like, well, I want to get into millions of dollars. I'm already in like $15 million in debt right now, right? So just on real estate alone, and I have over $1 million in debt in cars. So it's like, for me, I'm in debt, but I'm in good debt. So and I'm leveraged, and that's what leverage means. So if you want to be able to use your abilities to start getting into debt, and just like Rich Man Poor Dad was saying, was that requires you to have a credit score. And that way you don't need to go do a bunch of networking and deal with kissing people's ass and trying to like get them to like you, right? I mean, I'm at the end of the day, like if you look kind of weird, they might not want to give you money, right? So I'm gonna be honest with you, like nowadays, people, they say racism isn't existing, but people look at people like, hey, they judge you just by your looks. Okay, it might not be racism, it might not be discrimination, but it's like your looks, who you are, matters. Like if I showed up looking like a homeless right now, are you guys gonna listen to me? No, right? Like, why would you listen to me? Like, what am I doing that you would want to be in my position? At the end of the day, discrimination and like that kind of discrimination, where it's like people actually wanting to support you and follow you and listen to you, is because your presentation, who you are and what you represent, your credibility, your brand, your person matters. Now, going out there and getting people to believe you to do that is not an easy task. Okay. But and I think that you have to either know someone or you have to be connected somehow and be able to be introduced to someone. Say, hey, this is my friend so he's been trying to do this for a while. You can build that relationship, and I think it's doable. It just takes longer. But
that's what I've done my whole fucking life, man. Is I have to go where the rich people hang out. I have to go make connections, because I would have to be like, I started reading tons and tons and tons and tons of books so that I would be more of an interesting person, so I could tell more stories when I would go to these like rich people parties, right? Because I own like an art company, so when I was selling art, I had to go with people that had disposable income, right? And then I ended up on their boats, and then I ended up in their bars and in their hotels and in their like different kind of industries and stuff like that. And it was always a pain in the ass, because you never want to like even when I did have amazing business ideas, I still wanted to be a friend to these people. But if I would have just had credit, like it would have been so much freaking easier for my whole life, man. And it took forever, right? I still have those relationships though now. And now I'm in like a power place where I have the good credit. I'm going to have the power players have my back and already know, like, and trust me. But I could have skipped years of that and just gotten straight to the part where I'm like successful and blowing shit up. You know what I mean? It's crazy though.
I started, I started at the age of 22, 21. I started at 21. My first real estate deal was at 21 years old, bro. So I bought my first, and I could have bought it earlier if I knew more than back then. And I only knew how to use credit as far as leveraging it in multiple ways and getting cash out of it, right? Cash. But leveraging and getting into good debt, I didn't pick that up till a little bit later on, and then I started to learn, oh, my credit, how my credit was so important more now than ever. And
Yeah.
then I had a score, but I got my score up to like, I was like, I want to push my credit to the max. So I was like a 80, no, 810. I was at 810 at one point. And I was like, man, I'm fucking on top of the world. Like I felt
Yeah.
like, like I feel like, man,
And he
nothing can
didn't have to
stop
go
me.
kiss anybody's ass. You know what I mean?
Nobody,
That's
I
what I'm
don't have to
saying.
kiss, I don't have to kiss nobody's ass. I have
That's
access to
awesome.
my own money. I can
Yeah.
leverage my business. I can, and I was like, dude, I have all these fucking credit cards. Excuse my language, but I have all these credit cards, like, and I can leverage them to buy real estate. Like, I can buy cars. I can buy everything. Well, I don't need to go anybody
Yeah.
and kiss anybody's butt and tell them, hey, bro, I really wish you can help me.
Hmm.
That's why when I hear people talk about other people's money
Yeah.
on social media, online, even I would say people that, that we could talk about, like, Grant Cardone, we could talk about Ryan Panina, all these guys, they talk about using other people's money.
Yeah.
But when you ask them and they've talked to other people and they bring up, man, if I knew about credit, they all say the same thing. Like, man,
Yeah.
I wish I knew about credit earlier. I would have done something. I would have leveraged credit and I would have got into debt like a lot faster.
Right.
it's like the fast track is literally like, it's two things. To how to get rich is
Hmm.
how fast can you get into debt.
Right.
So the faster you can get into debt without without having to really deal or depend on people, and you can get into debt on your own.
Right.
That's kind of funny, but if you want to get into debt on your own, good
Right.
debt, you use your personal credit as leverage to get into debt.
Yeah. But the thing that I'm thinking about that's blowing my mind right now is we fix our personal credit, right? Now we're going to create an LLC, right? And then we're going to give this LLC so much credibility that it became its own literal entity that we can
Right.
ask for money, right? And then it's not attached to you anymore. It's its own source of credit. And then you can basically play with other people's money and have no risk to yourself or less risk to
Right.
yourself, right? That's just
So,
in that's so powerful.
that's a powerful thing. That and the thing is, like, when just to make sure everybody's on the same page, we are leveraging business credit,
Yeah.
right? And it's no longer reporting on your credit report.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
However, initially, when you got the credit, when you
It
applied
was.
for the credit, it required your personal credit report,
Right.
required your personal credit, your PG, even though this business, is, technically like an entity on its own, right?
Yeah.
But anytime you apply for credit, anytime you apply for debt, okay, that you're
Yeah.
trying to use the bank's money and the bank is going to give you a loan, that requires your personal credit. And then when that business gets that loan, it reports on the business side. It
Yeah.
doesn't report on a personal side. Now, there's certain banks like Capital One, Citibank, I can name, that even if you get a business card from them, they still report on your personal card. Okay, because that's how they do business.
So
That's
is there a way to get it not reporting on your personal card though? Or not your
depending
personal?
on the bank. So you can get away with certain banks.
Wow.
Okay, you can
That's
get
pretty
away.
ninja right there.
Yeah, you
If you
can get
think
away
about
with
it.
certain banks, and that's the thing, that certain banks like are like, they're more like. So I would say banks like Capital One are basically like, they're more scared. They
Yeah.
have they have a fear factor. They probably have had a lot of people that got business credit or got loans and defaulted on those loans. And
Wow.
that's why they're like, well, you know what? Like, we've had enough of this. People have screwed us over. So then we're not going to deal with that anymore. We're going to report it on your credit report, because that is the reason why people are using this method. Now,
Yeah.
other banks like American Express and other banks, they are not reporting to the personal side, because
Right.
they are in the business of leveraging debt. That people, they're in the business of giving out loans. They make money, right? So we
Yeah.
want every bank, if we make relationships with banks, they are going to be like, if you send me clients, if I apply and I get a loan from them, and then I say, hey, I have Robert, I want to send him to you, they're gonna be like, yeah, send him over. They're gonna want you because they're gonna want to make money. They want to give you money to make money off you based on the interest rate. They make money on interest. They don't make money otherwise, right?
Yeah.
And for them, it's just a piece of paper. Like, hey, you got 30,000, which is like on paper, right?
Right.
You charge the credit card, and they hold a balance, and that balance is almost like fictitious. And there's no
Hmm.
money in the bank, anyways. And it's like they have like maybe 100,000, and they loan out 100 million. That's just
Yeah.
how banking systems work, you know. But at the end of
It's
the day,
crazy.
what's powerful here is the fact that banks are in the business. They it's almost like they want people to go into debt and they want to give them money. The thing is where people screw up on, and that's what we're trying to solidify. That way, people when they get to the point where they have money, they have credit, and they can start leveraging, they don't screw their relationships up. Because
With the
once
banks.
they mess up the relationship, when they default on that credit card and they default on that loan,
Yeah.
they're killing the business. They're killing the business side. They're gonna destroy their business. And then the banks, they know who you are.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if they know who owns that business. They know who the owner of that business is. They know who you are, and then they're gonna be reluctant to give you the same line or do business with you again. So
Yeah.
whenever you do that, just realize, people have gotten rich off this. People, I know people that created businesses, made a shit ton of money, or borrowed a shit ton of money, and then they just BK'd.
Yeah.
That right there is the reason why I would say one of the reasons why that we are in so much debt, and people don't really are not being able to like kind of like be responsible. So
Right.
banks are really there for us to help us, but we if we screw the bank over, we end up getting kind of the short end of the stick, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's like the 2008 crisis. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, here, go buy a house, have all our money," and then nobody could actually pay the banks
Right.
back. And then now the banks are like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't do that." So that's just what's going to happen. It's going to be harder and harder and harder to get the credit unless you play the game and
Yes.
represent that you have credibility. You
You
know?
have to have the credibility. You have to have the backing. You have to have the community behind you to tell you and give you the right advice
Yeah.
necessary for you to make the right moves and right methods. Right. So, leveraging debt, great thing. Using your credit, great thing. Take care of those things. Take care of that line of credit that you got. I have a $75,000 line of credit, no personal guarantee reporting on my credit report right now. I can pull right now and just use as I want. And
Wow.
that will report on my credit. I can still go buy a house. I can still go buy another car. I can go buy whatever the hell I want. And that 75K is not reporting on my credit report.
Yeah, that's my new goal. Is I want to start an
Right.
LLC and get credit for that without it being on my name.
And that's there's gyms here. They have a couple brands. There's National Funding. There's a company that I work with, is Blue Vine, another one that gave me the line of credit. So these companies you can go apply on your own. But the thing is, not the way you're not going to get a $75,000 credit line if you don't have money coming into your bank or your
Right.
business, or you don't have a good credit score. So I have both. That's why they gave me that kind of line of credit on a business side.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about personal. So, but they still required me to have a good personal score in order for them to give me that line of credit, right?
Yeah.
And that's why, kind of like, going back to where we started, get your foundation right, get your personal credit in order. Then learn how to, what the methods that we're going to show you, learn how to leverage debt and leverage credit to get into debt, right? I should say leverage credit to get into debt through your credit score, and then build businesses, not one, two, not two, multiple businesses if you want. Like, I have multiple businesses, I have multiple streams of income, and I have multiple businesses making me money, but I'm also leveraging the debt
Yeah.
that those businesses can get into in order to make more money. So, in this case, this business, we leverage debt. All the stuff all the marketing, all the expenses that we have, it's all debt expense, and it's all on
Right.
the business side. So that way, my credit score doesn't get affected. Your credit score doesn't get affected, because the business at the end of the day is paying for it. And whatever income the business gets is going to pay off the debt that it builds. So that way it's completely separate from you. But again, in the beginning, you need to have credit. You need to have be able to use your personal credit to get into credit, debt, or loans and mortgages in order to buy a house. If you want to buy a house we're using a business, it still requires you to have your
Personal debt.
credit.
Yeah. So personal credit is king, basically.
Yeah,
But
it's personal. It's the king. Yeah,
yeah.
And that's what it is. But it's the king to get you into debt. It's
Yeah,
the king
exactly.
to help the businesses, the banks, to trust you, because at the end of the day, the business is the business. Like, the business is just a name, right? Okay, yeah, the business might be making money, but if you're not, the only reason the business is making money is because you are around. Like, if you die tomorrow, unless that business has is a business that's self-operating, or has
Yeah.
some kind of like, if it's like an e-commerce store or something like that, maybe, right? But like, I think most businesses and most banks, they like the idea, and they want to have a person that is responsible for this business.
Right. Until the business is so big that it's its own thing, pretty much.
And then it just
That's the
goes
goal
away.
then.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
goal. That's the goal. But that's what this is all about. This is about leveraging your personal side, creating a foundation, leveraging it, and growing from there. And just like you have now, your credit is gonna shoot up. You're going to be able to get access to money, and then you're going to grow up, and you're going to open up a business, or you have an existing business, which you're now going to be able to go apply to get those lines of credit and start using that money to either invest in your own business, or in your personal assets. Because the best thing you can do as a write-off, and I didn't mention one thing, but write-offs are amazing, right? So that we can talk about that all day. But for a business side, you need to have write-offs, and you need to have debt expenses.
Yeah.
So, and I think is the best way to do it is like, well, instead of buying a car on your personal side, buy a car on the business side, and you're able to write that off. It's just like, you buy a house, you can buy that house, let's say, or that real estate, and now that real estate is considered business. So if you're sleeping in bed here, and the house is purchased or being paid by the business, it's considered a rental, and you get to write off all the interest on that business. You get to write off all the expenses on that business and the living space of that business. You can write off certain areas of that business and time, and you can get really into it write-offs. And banks are the same thing. They're no different. The banks, whenever somebody defaults on a credit card or defaults on a loan, they just write it off. They write it off, and they use that as a write-off. So for them, they don't lose anything.
Right.
Regardless, they don't lose any money. They write it off. The only person that loses here that defaults is you. You're screwing yourself over by not paying those debts, or if you're not gonna pay them, then at least settle them. Don't file for bankruptcy. Filing the bankruptcy is the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing you can do for your credit, for your credibility. It's gonna hurt you for years. It's gonna hurt you for years, and then you got to get it off. I was worried about it because I almost went into bankruptcy of what happened to my recent business partner. Things didn't go right, but I was smart enough to understand credit enough where I was like, well, I'm gonna have to lose something, okay? And I didn't want to lose my credit. Like, I didn't want to lose 7 years of my life. So, and I was like, well, then it's gonna have to figure out how to get rid of it. So for me, be able to maintain myself and maintain my mindset or my composure, instead of going to bankruptcy, I kind of went into the debt settlement side. And the debt settlement side, that's also, we offer that here. If people are interested in getting their debt settled, and we help them by getting their debt cleared, and we can refer them to certain people that help them out, and we can help them get in touch with those individuals and get their debt settled for less, if not 50% of what they originally own. And then they're able to kind of like, they might have a bad relationship, but at least they don't break that relationship. The banks are still like, oh, well, he paid me back some money. He didn't just BK, but he did do the right thing. He told us he had a problem. He had a financial hardship or whatever it is. He settled that debt, and then you're able to remove it a lot easier than a bankruptcy. So I had 20 accounts, but at the end of the day, I re-established those relationships.
Right, and that's better than
all those banks.
The BK is just like a break, basically. It's like,
BK is just a break, and then you're no longer like, well, oh, you got a bankruptcy? Sorry, I can't talk to you. I'm a new bank. I see bankruptcy. Sorry, I can't talk to you. You screwed over. You screwed over Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, whoever else you screwed over. That's like almost like the block list. Like you're blocked from all these the blacklists, like they call it the blacklist. You're now blacklisted from all these banks. You're literally, they have like a blacklist of people that they are not going to lend to, and those blacklists, you literally gave yourself a ticket, and you join the blacklist by getting a bankruptcy.
Yeah. And that's kind of why the next part of the course is so important. It's like, now you have all this money. How do we make sure that we use it the right way to make more money, to not go further into debt and end up like on the blacklist or something like that? Because like now we've established like this is so important. People have done so much work now to fix their credit again. They've gotten funding. Now we just have to make sure that the funding turns into more money, more opportunities, more fucking growth. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about next, pretty much. Any last thoughts before we wrap up about business funding and stuff like this?
No, just start from scratch one. If you got to this point, you didn't understand how important your credit was, I would start all over again and realize how important your credit was. If you can't get your credit fixed on your own, let us help you get your credit fixed, and then we'll be able to push you over and get some funding for you, and then we'll teach you how to make money.